3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri. Plus, an article of impeachment that will be sent to the Senate today will have the latest, and why former Press Secretary Sarah Sanders could be mounting a bid for governor in Arkansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas were at home Saturday for a doubleheader against Fort Hays State. We'll have the highlights. And the Kansas City Chiefs are headed back to the Super Bowl. For our morning talker, we're asking, did you watch either of the championship games? And what do you think who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? You can participate in our Insta Poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
An absolute soaker of a Monday morning. Already in between 1 to 2 inches of rain on the ground, and then when we throw on the lightning tracker, look at that band of lightning just popping up, running through southwest Missouri and then down through northeast Oklahoma as well. That band of lightning, it is moving off to the east right there. But our big concern is going to be the amount of rain that we've already received, and that is why in the bright lime green right there, that is a flash flood warning, and it lasts all the way until 9:30. That encompasses portions of Berry, Christian, McDonald, Newton, and Stone counties. And then in the little bit darker green, those are flash flood washes, as we're still anticipating another 1 to 2 inches on top of this. No surprise that from the Freeman Health System Sky Camera, can't even cut through the rain to check out campus right now, sitting at 46 degrees, feeling like 41. Whole bunch of temperatures skewed everywhere from the mid-30s up to the north, all the way up to the mid-40s as far as what we're seeing there in that Grove, Neosho, Monette line. So we're kind of spread out all over the place here. Rain's going to last, even though it breaks up here around the noon hour, still has this scattered variety involved all the way into the evening. Now, Monday night we clear off. Tuesday, looking pretty nice, albeit chilly. And then on Wednesday, hey, here we go. Got a chance for some snow to roll in on Wednesday. Not looking at substantial accumulation. Let's get through all the flooding first.
Yeah, no kidding. It is wet out there.
It's coming down now.
Describing it as a soaker is perfect. Perfect. All right, thanks, Michael. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44. About 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare of Billings, Missouri, was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. Occupants of that car included 17-year-old Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to send the article of impeachment against former President Trump to the Senate today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate trial will not start until the week of February 8th. Former President Trump was impeached on an incitement of insurrection charge after the Capitol Hill riot on January 6th. Former White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders appears poised for a gubernatorial run in Arkansas. A source with knowledge of the situation says she's expected to make that announcement today. Sanders served under former President Donald Trump. The current Arkansas governor, Asa Hutchinson, is reaching his term limit. 35 members of Congress have co-signed a letter to President Biden to commute all federal death penalty sentences. The Trump administration reinstated the federal death penalty after a nearly 2-decade pause, executing 13 inmates in just 6 months. Representatives Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Cori Bush of Missouri co-authored the letter to Biden to put a stop to executions. President Biden has not responded yet, but he has previously stated that he is in favor of ending the federal death penalty. The new administration has sweeping plans for criminal justice reform, but has not addressed death sentences in the first few rounds of executive orders. Opponents of the death penalty argue that it is racially biased. Currently, there are 49 men on federal death row. More than half represent members of minority groups. A fire broke out near downtown Joplin Saturday. The fire started in a commercial building in the 400 block of East 8th Street. Officials with the Joplin Police Department say there were no injuries. The Joplin Fire Department, Police Department, and METS all responded to the scene. A Wichita, Kansas man is dressed as a UPS driver, but residents say he's not delivering packages. Instead, he's being accused of stealing them. Hannah Baker reports.
Security video shows this man stealing several packages from doorsteps in East Wichita.
This man is wearing a UPS outfit.
Wichita resident Joanna, who didn't feel comfortable showing her face out of fear of retaliation, says he stole from her.
It doesn't matter if it cost me $5, $100. You're stealing from me. I work hard for my money, and you're stealing from me.
Originally, she thought the man in the video might have delivered the package to the wrong address, so she called the UPS to see if the man worked there.
And they were like, I need you to send me those images. He doesn't work for us. He's not wearing the right uniform.
And she's not alone. After posting this video on Facebook and the Ring app, she had close to a dozen other people contact her who all described the same thief with the same crime. Megan Busher was one of those people.
I work really hard for the money that I make, and and to have things stolen, it definitely takes a little bit of your sense of security when you're on home.
Busher also says she doesn't think this was the man's first time stealing.
I mean, you could tell on the video that he's obviously very comfortable with what he's doing. It looks like he's done it before because of just how comfortable he was.
Both women hope by telling their stories, other people will be on the lookout for this thief.
I just really want to tell him, I know he's going to see this, that it's not fair he's doing this. It's not fair.
Wichita police say they are investigating the reported cases of package theft. We first introduced you to a group a week ago as they were trying to get a chess club started in Pittsburgh, and yesterday was their second meeting. Organizers say they're off to a great start. The group meets at Root Coffee House in Pittsburgh, playing rounds to brush up on their skills and raise their ranks on the competitive level.
So I'm in the fanatical camp that chess is a sport. One of the things I keep hearing from my players along game 4, game 5, is they will report out how exhausted they are, like they had played a football game. But our current run rate is we're growing at 685% a year. And we're going to bring it back from the dead.
Blair says he remembers a time when chess was on the front page, and they're hopeful to get chess back in the spotlight. It's 5:07.
Down comes the rain with a fair amount of lightning throughout southwest Missouri as well. And we're talking about torrential, especially when you get up to the north. And that's why we have flood warnings, flash flood warnings, and flash flood watches all the way until the noon hour. Now, eventually, this will become more of the light and scattered variety this afternoon. But also, too, need everybody to be apprised that low-lying areas are already underwater for the morning commute.
That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the women Gorillas aim to rebound after snapping a 7-game winning streak. We'll have the highlights, plus a look into what parents have to say about food, dieting, and weight. And all have a lasting impact on their child's health. And the mayor of Kansas City wins a bet against the mayor of Buffalo, New York. We're going to tell you what he won. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Kansas City Chiefs headed back to the Super Bowl, rolling over the Buffalo Bills 38-24 Sunday night in the AFC Championship game as the Chiefs punched their ticket to Super Bowl 55, the franchise's second straight Super Bowl appearance. KC will face Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game will be seen right here on February 7th on CBS and KOAM. Tight end Travis Kelce led the way for Kansas City on Sunday, racked up 13 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, 13 receptions, ties a playoff record for a tight end. Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 172 yards, and that dude Patrick Mahomes, 29 of 38 passes, 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. Buccaneers played the Packers in the NFC Championship game yesterday. Talk about no stranger to the Super Bowl. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and the rest of the Buccaneers able to hold off Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay. 31-26 Tampa Bay victory. That puts Brady in his 10th Super Bowl and creates a unique situation with the Super Bowl being a home game in sense for Tampa Bay. That's never happened before in Super Bowl history.
You know, love coming to work every day with this group of guys, and have worked really hard to get to this point. And it's a tough game. We've had a few tough games in a row, and the next one will be really tough too. But we know what we're playing for, and we got 2 weeks to prepare. It's going to be a great opponent, and be really exciting couple weeks for us.
Pittsburgh State Gorillas were at home Saturday, a doubleheader against Fort Hays State. On the women's side, Gorillas aiming to rebound after snapping a 7-game winning streak Thursday against Nebraska Kearney. Fort Hays State, highest scoring offense in the league, coming into the day posting 75 per game. Early on, Sydney Crane for the Gorillas, top of the key. Then Maya Williams. Williams had 15. Problem is, Hayes really didn't want to miss a shot in the first. 13 of 18 from the field to take an 11-point lead. Second quarter, in your living room, Tristan Gegg scores 10 in the first half. PSU scores 41 as a team, but still find themselves down 9 in the third. Jaden Hobbs. Hobbs had 26 points and 12 assists for Fort Hays State. Gegg doing what she does in the fourth. She led PSU with 17. Freshman Abby Deitch with the 3. Gorillas were able to get within 8, but Hayes hangs on and wins this thing 85-73.
What a game by Fort Hays. That was just honestly a really impressive offensive game by them. And I will say that our defensive presence the first quarter was not what I wanted it to be. However, some of that is we turned it over that first quarter a lot. You know, our efficiency the first quarter, we shot 61%, we're 8 for 13. So it's just literally that we gave them some to just running and get out and shoot layups.
On the men's side, Pittsburgh State aiming to snap a 3-game skid against Fort Hays State. They were on fire to begin with. Pittsburgh State was, that is. Bobby Arthur Williams all alone for the JM. He had 14. Quentin Hardrick off the dribble. Ho! Pull up. Knock. 12-0 at that point. Hardrick, team high 15 points. PSU not done. Antonio Givens. Ooh, look at the little baby hook. Pitt State opens on a 22-4 run and did not let up. Ike Moore hits from deep. PSU cruises over Fort Hays State 79-68. Missouri Southern Lions also at home over the weekend, hosting Nebraska Kearney. Lion men, a little bit of a rough patch last few weeks, have dropped 4 of their last 5, aiming to get back on track in the only meeting of the season that they'll play the Lopers. First quarter, Cam Martin. Yup, big man don't stop. Game high 20 points. Lions open on a 9-0 run. Martin again, top of the key. He goes inside, he goes outside, he does it all. Missouri Southern up 15-4. Later in the quarter, pass to R.J. Smith. Yep, stays with it. Offensive rebound. Gets his own putback. Another from Smith, takes the pass. No rebound needed. 25-13 Lions. Late in the first, Martin with a passing game. Dishes out to Avery Taggart. Taggart with the long 3. Southern rolls over UNK, 85-57. On the women's side, Southern looking to hand Kearney its first loss. First quarter, Megan Jackson. Oh, shooter's roll for the lefty. Maddie Stokes. Stokes had 14 points. Lions lead by 3. Later in the first, Bianca Stocks. Ooh, that's a quick release right there. My goodness, don't blink. Second quarter, Carly Turnbull in the paint through traffic. Basket, foul, Turnbull, team high 18. And then in the third quarter, Caitlin Honeycutt playing defense, takes the steal, finishes it off herself. But the Lions see their lead slip. A big fourth quarter keeps Kearney undefeated, and they win it 65-57.
This is, I think, is a good stepping stone to help us with a little bit of confidence that understand that we can play with anybody in our league, and now we got to take that to the practice floor next week and be ready to go next week when we go on the road.
Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a nuclear arms control agreement.
Key nuclear treaty with Russia, but the Republicans say it's a mistake. I'm Greg Palcott in London. That's my story coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Last week of January setting up to be an extremely wet one, and we're going to kick it off with Monday morning thunderstorm activity. Look at torrential rainfall up to the north right there, and we've even have sporadic lightning throughout southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, and in to northeast Oklahoma. These lightning strikes right there, that's the last 5 minutes alone. That's how much we're seeing lightning-wise. Flash flood warning indicated in lime green for about 5 counties right there. That means it's imminent. It's happening right now. That runs all the way until 9:30. The darker green, that's a flash flood watch. Please know that those low-lying bridges, those areas that are prone to flooding in your neighborhood, chances are they're already underwater here before sunrise. Rain accumulation, 3 inches is what we're seeing right there in the yellow. Joplin Regional Airport, actually at just about 1.25 inches. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, sitting at 45 degrees right now. A little bit of a chill in the air. Temperatures wide ranging everywhere from the mid-30s to the mid-40s. Now the thunderstorms actually persist all the way into the late morning hours. Then around noon, we finally begin to break up a little bit. We'll go more of the scattered variety, clear off, get some sunshine on Tuesday. Then we even got a chance to see some snow by the time we get to Wednesday. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Kansas City's mayor obviously got to be feeling pretty good about a wager with the mayor of Buffalo, New York. Ahead of yesterday's AFC Championship matchup between the Chiefs and Bills, KC Mayor Quentin Lucas put some of the city's famous barbecue on the line from Gates. If the Chiefs came out on top, Buffalo was to send over, of course, buffalo wings. And now we count down to February 7th, where the Chiefs will play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 50 right here on KOAM.
One thing you will never say about Buffalo or Kansas City is that our fans are bandwagon people. We have been there through thick and thin. And for Kansas City, as a kid who grew up when I did, we went through a whole lot of years and no playoff wins. We went through some tough teams, some 2-14 seasons not that long ago. And so that's why I'm so excited. So I really like to celebrate how strong and how good of fans we are.
Facebook and Insta poll this morning asking if you watch the championship games and who you think will win Super Bowl 50. Log on to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Health Watch is next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, what parents have to say about food, dieting, and weight have an lasting impact on their child's health. Mandy Gaither has more on how to be a positive role model.
Our children are always watching. Our children are always watching us. They're listening to what we say.
That's why parents play a big part in shaping a child's healthy and not so healthy habits. So start by being a good role model, says dietitian Catherine Sherry of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta's Strong for Life program.
If we want our kids to eat vegetables and fruits, we need to eat vegetables and fruits. If we want our kids to be drinking more water and less of the juice and the soda, as adults, we need to show them that we're drinking water.
Sherry says to avoid weighing yourself in front of your children and don't speak negatively about your own body.
In fact, talk positively about your body. It might feel awkward, it might feel out of place, but that's not what your child is going to pick up on.
Being healthy is something that you can do together.
Say something like, I'm going to have a salad today, and invite the child to come into the kitchen and help prep it with you.
Finally, whether your child is 2 or a teen, it's never too late to learn.
Habits can change, and even though a child is an adolescent, that doesn't mean all is lost, and they can still learn and grow into a healthy adult.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The dietitian says being a healthy role model for children can also benefit the health of the parents. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association report more than 200,000 children tested positive for COVID-19 the second week of January. That's the largest weekly increase yet. So far, 2.5 million children in the U.S. have caught the virus. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
I was just going to walk over to 7-Day. No, I just went out and checked the old lightning tracker right there. It is picking up down to the south. The lightning is increasing substantially. So we not only have flooding concerns, but also too, just be safe if you're out and about today, especially early this morning, because the lightning is getting impressive. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri. plus an article of impeachment that will be sent to the Senate today. We'll have the latest, and why former Press Secretary Sarah Sanders could be mounting a bid for governor in Arkansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour for our Morning Talker, we're asking, did you watch either of the championship games yesterday? And who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? Also, how a devoted dog in Turkey is proving what it means to be man's best friend. But first, a check on your forecast.
We will work from north to south. Extreme heavy rain right now rolling through the northern portion of southwest Missouri, making a line down I-49 through Nevada and Lamar, and then moving on I-44 east toward Mount Vernon and up through Springfield. Now the rain is beginning to taper off just a little bit on the far western part of southeast Kansas, but it's too little too late as far as easing up on us, because our lightning, number one, drastically increasing as well throughout the course of Monday, and number two, flood watches, flood warnings abound. We'll get to those in just a second. Let's take a look at current conditions from the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, where it's 45 degrees, feels like 39. Temperatures wide-ranging, everywhere from the mid-30s, really up to the mid-40s. Go ahead and remove the satellite cover, and that way we can take a look at our watches and warnings, because we're going to be stuck with these all morning long. And then what we're going to have is the lime green. That indicates a flash flood warning. That means it's imminent, it's already happening. And then that darker green, that's a flash flood watch. That just means go ahead and anticipate those areas being flooded for your morning commute. This is not one of those things we're talking about, hey, this is what it's going to be like later. We're talking about it going on right now. As far as the rain and thunderstorm activity, it does taper off by the time we get to the afternoon hours. Clears off on Tuesday. Get some sunshine as well. And then Wednesday, with a cold front working in, instead of rain, we could be talking about a little snow.
All right, we got a lot going on in that forecast, that's for sure.
Let's just get through the Monday morning rain first. That's the important thing.
Try to stay dry out there. All right, thanks, Michael. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44, about 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare of Billings, Missouri, was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. Occupants of that car included 17-year-olds Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to send the article of impeachment against former President Trump to the Senate today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate trial will not start until the week of February 8th. Former President Trump was impeached on an incitement of insurrection charge after the Capitol Hill riot on January 6th.
Will the president respond directly to Biden?
I'm not sure about that. We'll see what happens on that front, but I think Joe Biden has a lot of questions he needs to answer himself.
Let me ask you about Paul Manafort. Why hadn't, obviously Paul Manafort goes for the second half of his sentencing this week, why hasn't the president ruled out a pardon for Paul Manafort?
There was no real news in there.
Well, 35 members of Congress have co-signed a letter to President Biden to commute all federal death penalty sentences. The Trump administration reinstated the federal death penalty after a nearly 2-decade pause, executing 13 inmates in just 6 months. Representatives Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Cori Bush of Missouri co-authored the letter to Biden to put a stop to executions. President Biden has not responded yet, but he has previously stated that he is in favor of ending the federal death penalty. The new administration has sweeping plans for criminal justice reform, but has not addressed death sentences in the first few rounds of executive orders. Opponents of the death penalty argue that it is racially biased. Currently, there are 49 men on federal death row. More than half represent members of minority groups. 7 Senate Democrats have filed an ethics complaint against Senators Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. They're calling for the Ethics Committee to investigate the 2 Republicans for their actions leading up to and on January 6th, the day of the Capitol insurrection. Hawley and Cruz objected to the Electoral College votes. The Democrats want to see how that may have contributed to inciting the violence. They also want the committee to investigate whether the 2 senators or members of their offices were in contact with organizers of the rally. and knew about the plans for it or received funding from organizations or donors that are also funded by the rally. Hawley called the complaint a, quote, flagrant abuse of the Senate ethics process. A Missouri doctor is caring for hospitalized COVID patients from his living room. Allie Corey explains how he makes it happen.
I'm able to access patient medical records, including their laboratory tests and the notes by the doctors and nurses and respiratory therapists.
Every day since the pandemic began, Dr. Stephen Brown logs on to this hub in his living room to monitor critical care patients at hospitals across the country.
I'm taking care of about 100 people a night, mostly on ventilators, mostly with COVID. Half of them are younger than me.
Brown is 65 and is an attending physician with Mercy's Virtual Care Center. He estimates he's treated well over 1,000 patients in the last 10 months.
One time we had 4 die within an hour.
Oh my word.
Yeah,
How do you deal with that?
it's difficult. And I get teary sometimes. It's my time to step up to help others when these tragedies occur.
He's in constant communication with respiratory therapists, nurses, and doctors on site, monitoring patient heart rates and oxygen saturation levels, studying x-rays, and when needed, he can remote in to the ICUs.
All my experience the past 40 years has prepared me for this pandemic, including working in New York City during the AIDS epidemic in the 80s.
But still, he says he is not the hero.
The heroes are the people who are staying home, who are doing the best they can to wear their masks and to distance. Those are the people who are really the heroes that are going to bring this pandemic to an end.
A medical miracle. A Missouri zoo has released a bald eagle back into the wild just 2 weeks after he was found on the side of the road with lead poisoning. Dickerson Park Zoo says when Patriot was brought in on January 8th, he couldn't even lift his head. Patriot was suffering from seizures and convulsions. The zoo didn't even know if he would make it through the first night. But Patriot defied the odds, and in just 2 weeks, he was well enough to hunt and fly again. Patriot was released right where he was found on a farm in Rogersville. Now, not all birds are that lucky. Many don't survive lead poisoning, which they get after eating a fish with a lead lure in it or a carcass shot with lead ammo. The zoo hopes Patriot's story encourages hunters and fishermen to stop using lead. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. The story behind a dog that waited outside a hospital for almost a week as her owner underwent treatment for a brain condition. Plus, an infamous Canadian drug baron is arrested in the Netherlands. We'll have the latest there. First, it's 5:37.
So here's where we stand with our watches and warnings. In the lime green, that's going to be a flash flood warning that lasts all the way until 9:30. And then that darker green, that indicates a flash flood watch that lasts until noon. So these are a little bit elongated, extended periods of time. Now, as we cruise past the noon hour, we do see a little break of the thunderstorm activity there. It could be more the scattered variety for the afternoon, and then we clear off this evening. Get into Tuesday, we get some sunshine, and then Wednesday, we start to talk about a little snow trying to work its way in. We'll have all the latest for you on the Skywatch weather app, and World Watch is next.
Topping World Watch, the Biden administration is planning a 5-year extension of the last remaining nuclear arms control agreement with Russia, despite promises to get tough with Moscow. Greg Palcott has more from London.
It's the last remaining nuclear arms agreement between Russia and the U.S. The Biden administration announcing a 5-year extension of the START treaty, which had been set to expire in 2 weeks. It limits each country to about 1,500 nuclear warheads and 700 missiles or bombers. The White House says it's the best way to keep the peace in Europe while also confronting Moscow.
Even as we work with Russia to advance U.S. interests, so too we work to hold Russia to account for its reckless and adversarial actions.
But most Republicans oppose the extension. They say it's a giveaway to the Russians, who won't live up to their end of the bargain. They also point out intermediate range missiles are not covered. They were a part of a separate treaty President Trump withdrew from in 2019. And some claim this will make it more difficult for the U.S. to modernize its own nuclear arsenal.
It's really a choice between replacing them or losing them. That would mean losing confidence in our ability to deter
Meanwhile, the Kremlin is welcoming the move, saying in a statement, quote, Russia and its president are in favor of preserving this agreement, the most important fundamental one in terms of global stability and safety. But most analysts are predicting the treaty extension won't lead to broader agreements between Moscow and Washington.
The chances for the renewal are quite good, but it's another question if it will affect the general atmosphere of relations. This is not about Biden or Putin. This is about the whole world being in divergence.
Russia says it also plans to withdraw from the Open Skies Treaty, which allows for reconnaissance flights over military bases. A spike in COVID cases is putting a serious strain on Japan's healthcare system. A recent survey found at least 15,000 people are waiting to get treated for coronavirus in hospitals or isolation centers. But right now, there just are not enough beds to keep up with demand. Cases have more than doubled in the past 2 months, surging to more than 360,000. High-risk patients, such as the elderly and those with severe symptoms, are taken to hospitals, while those with mild symptoms are transferred to designated accommodation for isolation. Tokyo had the highest number of people waiting to be hospitalized or moved to accommodations. Israel will be closing its international airport to nearly all flights as the coronavirus continues to rapidly spread across the globe. Lax safety rules in the country has led to Israel having one of the world's highest rates of COVID infections. Late Sunday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet approved the tight ban on incoming and outgoing air traffic. And according to Israeli media, the closure will remain in effect for at least 1 week, though the Prime Minister's office did not provide exact dates of when the ban will go into effect, as it still requires parliamentary legislation to be finalized. At least 5 people are dead after a truck carrying explosives exploded Friday in southern India. Officials say the blast took place in close proximity to a stone crushing unit in Shivamogga. The explosion damaged nearby buildings, shattered windows, and left cracks in a number of nearby homes. Police have detained 2 people for questioning in connection with the blast. The cause of the explosion is under investigation as government officials rush to provide assistance to those affected. An alleged Canadian drug baron was arrested on Friday in the Netherlands. The 57-year-old was part of a global crime syndicate that was accused of trading large amounts of illegal drugs and laundering money. Australian federal police announced the suspect was detained on Sunday, saying he is, quote, significant interest to Australian and other law enforcement agencies. Dutch police took to social media to confirm the news, saying the man was arrested at the request of Australian authorities via Interpol. Australian police plan to seek his extradition. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
What was the exact phrase that Australia used? Okay, here. I have it right here. I found that interesting. It just caught my attention there.
Significant interest?
Yeah, you don't want it, you don't want Interpol describing you as that.
You might as well say
that's not how you want to start your work week. Trust me. No, thank you. All right, Tanya, on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Of course, we have the Kansas City Chiefs headed back to the Super Bowl to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Back-to-back appearances for Kansas City. 10th career appearance for one Tom Brady. That game's going to be February 7th right here on KOAM. Our question, did you watch, and who you think is going to win? Joe April Potter just says no. I'm going to leave it at that. Ross Rooms, he's got the hail, hail, the gang's all there. Our own Will York says mainly watched the Chiefs play last night, even though I wasn't planning on it because I wanted some sleep. But being a diehard Chiefs fan means you stick with your team no matter what, and it pays off every time. Michelle Pacini, soggy morning to you, KOM, my mama. Yes, it is, Michelle. Just like to say, life is too short. People need to let go of their anger, no matter the issue, before God does his calling for you. 2 very good games yesterday, but hands down, Michelle says, the Chiefs got this. Brandy Slager, feeling confident about that as well. And Sia Hooks, wait, I thought y'all didn't like the whole BLM thing. What happened to the outrage you all showed when they were protesting for BLM? I guess when you win, Sia says all that goes away. Becky Mingarelli says she watched both games and says, of course, the Chiefs are going to win. On the morning Insta poll right now, don't think it comes as any surprise, 84% of you saying favoring the Chiefs headed into Super Bowl 55. You can make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44, about 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare Billing of Billings, Missouri, was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. Occupants of that car included 17-year-olds Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to send the article of impeachment against former President Trump to the Senate today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate trial will not start until the week of February 8th. Former President Trump was impeached on an incitement of insurrection charge after the Capitol Hill riot on January 6th. And former White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders appears poised for a gubernatorial run in Arkansas. A source with knowledge of the situation says she's expected to make that announcement today. Sanders served under former President Donald Trump. The current Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson is reaching his term limit. 7 Senate Democrats have filed an ethics complaint against Senators Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. They're calling for the Ethics Committee to investigate the 2 Republicans for their actions leading up to and on January 6th, the day of the Capitol insurrection. Hawley and Cruz objected to the Electoral College votes. The Democrats want to see how that may have contributed to inciting the violence. Hawley called the complaint a, quote, flagrant abuse of the Senate ethics process. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Extreme heavy rain dominating our Monday morning, especially this line that works from the northern part of southwest Missouri all the way just to the east side of I-49 down into northwest Arkansas and crosses over into northeast Oklahoma as well. There's updated lightning tracks, or lightning at least is beginning to push off to the east. But one thing we're not going to be able to escape, that's flooding concerns. We've got flash flood warnings until 9:30 in lime green, and that darker green flash flood watch all the way until noon. As far as what we're looking at accumulation-wise, already almost 3 inches up in the northern portion of the 4 states. By the time we get to the afternoon, it gets a little more scattered, and then we clear off with sunshine on Tuesday. But look at Wednesday. Whoo! We're going to go from thunderstorms to midweek snow. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
A devoted dog in Turkey is proving what it means to be man's best friend. The mixed breed dog waited outside a hospital for almost a week as her owner was undergoing treatment for a brain condition. Tina Kraus reports from London.
For 6 days, this pooch named Boncuk set off on a daily journey all the way to this hospital in northern Turkey.
Ziyaretimiz var buraya bildiğiniz gibi.
A security guard says she showed up every morning, waiting patiently until midnight. Each time the doors opened, Boncuk took a peek inside, hoping for a glimpse of a certain patient. Turns out the devoted canine followed the ambulance that rushed her owner, Cemal Shintuk, to the hospital with a blood clot in his brain.
Hastanenin kapısından ayrıldı.
Shintuk's daughter took the dog back home, but says she kept running back to find him. The pair was finally reunited on Wednesday, and Boncuk could hardly contain her joy. Shintuk says, the dog is very close to us, like a human being, and it makes me happy. Shintuk says at times he'd call out to his precious pooch from his hospital window, which motivated her to stay and wait. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Boncuk and his owner have been together for 9 years. Glad there's a happy ending with that story, yeah.
To know the background of the name?
I don't know. Yeah.
Hi, Tanya. If your morning routine includes Facebook, you can not only jump on the KOAM News Now page, but if you want to keep up to date on what we have, especially this morning with flash flood warnings and flash flood watches, you can go to @MichaelHayslip, KOAM, and after we let the thunderstorm activity settle a little bit and we're not updating all these warnings, go ahead and give you a Monday forecast, just a quick hitter, try to keep it simple for you so you can get out the door. And also, too, I wanted to pass this one along because I found this on Twitter today. This is compliments of Bruce Feldman. And most of Bruce's tweets come about college football. But he had a great one from yesterday afternoon. It says, when Tom Brady played and won his first Super Bowl in 2002, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen were both in kindergarten. Be back with more KOAM Morning News for you right after this. Turn our attention to the central and eastern portion of our highlighted counties, because out in the west, beginning to break up a little bit, but it's going to be quite some time, like around the noon hour, until we're completely done with it. Torrential rainfall falling from the northern portion of southwest Missouri, kind of making a north-south line down all the way to northwest Arkansas, and we're picking back up here kind of a secondary line that stretches from Lamar down to Joplin on I-49 and then takes off down I-44 toward Miami. And we are still picking up a fair amount of lightning with it as well. So we've got flash flood warnings in lime green, flash flood watches in the darker green, lasting all the way until the noon hour. Expect those low-lying areas to already be flooded this morning. Back right after this.
Three are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri. Plus, an article of impeachment that will be sent to the Senate today will have the latest, and why former Press Secretary Sarah Sanders could be mounting a bid for governor in Arkansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, look into how virtual learning has changed the way families and school districts think about education. And for our morning talker, we're asking, did you watch either of the championship games? And who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? You can also vote in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Oh, we've got Monday morning thunderstorms, part of a larger system that even involves some rain and freezing rain. Now, it won't affect us. That'll stay up to the north, but you can tell this thing is pretty sweeping. As a matter of fact, from Texas up to the 4 states, ranging all the way to the mid-Atlantic. Let's get back here at home and concentrate on us, because it is torrential in the northwestern portion. And then it works its way from west to east. The northeast part of our highlighted counties in southwest Missouri just getting absolutely poured on for this Monday. I-49 has been a little bit of a problem spot as far as a major thoroughfare that's really holding a lot of water right now, and even some lightning involved with that as well. We'll get to our watches and warnings here in a bit. Let's talk current conditions from the Freeman Health System sky camera, where we sit at 46 degrees. So the nice thing is nothing's going to be able to flip over and freeze on us. But with that being said, low-lying areas are already flooding. Flash flood warnings in lime green until 9:30 this morning. The darker green indicating flash flood watch, and that lasts all the way until noon. It's really going to take until the afternoon until we see it break up and get to more of the scattered variety. Like I said, if anything, we do luck out because the wintry precip, that stays to the north of us. Tuesday, we actually get a little sunshine, but cooler temperatures as a cold front moves in. And then we're going to be talking about snow ourselves by the time we get to Wednesday.
All right. A lot to talk about, that's for sure.
Woo. Like I say,
enjoy the rain today.
Anticipate it this morning pre-sunrise. It is already flooding.
It is.
It's not one of those where we're talking about, hey, this could happen later. No, we're in the midst of it.
Inevitably, wherever you park, there'll be a puddle outside your door.
Amen to that.
All right, thanks, Michael. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44, about 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare of Billings, Missouri, was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. The occupants of that car included 17-year-olds Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to send the article of impeachment against former President Trump to the Senate today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate trial will not start until the week of February 8th. Former President Trump was impeached on an incitement of insurrection charge after the Capitol Hill riot on January 6th. And former White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders appears poised for a gubernatorial run in Arkansas. A source with knowledge of the situation says she's expected to make that announcement today. Sanders served under former President Donald Trump. The current Arkansas governor, Asa Hutchinson, is reaching his term limit. 35 members of Congress have co-signed a letter to President Biden to commute all federal death penalty sentences. The Trump administration reinstated the federal death penalty after a nearly 2-decade pause, executing 13 inmates in just 6 months. Representatives Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Cori Bush of Missouri co-authored the letter to Biden to put a stop to executions. President Biden hasn't responded yet, but he has previously stated that he is in favor of ending the federal death penalty. The new administration has sweeping plans for criminal justice reform, but has not addressed death sentences in the first few rounds of executive orders. Opponents of the death penalty argue that it is racially biased. Currently, there are 49 men on federal death row. More than half represent members of minority groups. More than 2 weeks have passed since the attack on the U.S. Capitol, and dozens of those involved are facing charges, but federal authorities are still hunting for other suspects. And the probe into the deadly incident is getting deeper. John Lawrence reports.
The probe into the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol is escalating.
The threat of right-wing extremism is here, right? And we saw it on January 6th. And it will continue to be a persistent and real threat to the District of Columbia.
About 120 suspects have been arrested, including Michael Foy of Michigan, who prosecutors allege is seen in this video striking police officers with a hockey stick during the riot.
Anybody involved with that should be prosecuted. I've been very, very clear about that from day one.
Joseph Biggs of Florida and a member of the Proud Boys extremist group is also facing federal charges. Additionally, officials state that images indicate Biggs carried a walkie-talkie device, possibly to communicate with others during the siege.
Definitely there was a element that came prepared and was looking to do nefarious things.
7 Democratic senators have filed an ethics complaint against Republican Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley to see if their actions played any role in the attack or violated ethics rules.
If people did aid and abet, there will be more than just comments from their colleagues here. There'll be prosecution.
Cruz and Hawley have blasted the complaint as political. And now the director of the U.S. Army staff is admitting he may have expressed some concern about the optics of sending more troops to the Capitol when D.C. government and U.S. Capitol Police were asking for them. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Also on the last part of the phone call from officials seeking help during the attack was Army Lieutenant General Charles Flynn, brother of former President Donald Trump's former national security advisor. The Army had earlier denied Flynn was on the call. A domestic dispute ends with an Oklahoma City officer and suspect shot. Officers responded to a domestic situation Saturday afternoon in the northeast region of the city. After one of the officers knocked on the front door, authorities say the suspect shot the officer. He retreated and fired back in the suspect's direction. The officer's shots hit the suspect, who then barricaded himself inside the home before giving himself up. The officer and suspect were transported with non-life-threatening injuries. Riggs Chiropractic in Riverton taking some time Saturday to honor those on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic. Frontline workers were invited to what Riggs called Lovin' on the Frontline Workers. There was a breakfast bar, spinal screenings, spine classes, and something all could enjoy, massages. Riggs says this is just their own way of giving back to those giving so much. Mental health screenings were also offered at yesterday's event.
Every day so much, and so we just want to love on them a little bit.
And we've got thunderstorm activity across the 4 states. We are beginning to taper off just a little bit on the far west, but everybody else, no, this thing's going to last through the mid-morning hours. Flash flooding already taking part in southern southwest Missouri. Know your neighborhood, know that morning commute, and let's plan accordingly. May need to detour those low water crossings.
This morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, staying virtual.
Teachers adjusted the way they work during the pandemic, and now some might stick with it. I'm Naomi Ruckham with how virtual learning is turning into new careers.
Plus, why there's a new push to get more Americans vaccinated against COVID after a dismal vaccine rollout. And a look back at the life of TV legend Larry King. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. 2 massive monsters are ready to duke it out on the big screen.
David Daniel with that and more. He's got our Hollywood Minute.
It's a battle royale in the first trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong. The mythic adversaries square off in a titanic tussle spurred by unknown forces with the fate of humankind in the balance. The mega monster mayhem erupts March 26th in theaters and on HBO Max.
I don't know why you came all the way up here. There's nothing left.
A Quiet Place Part 2 has moved yet again. The sequel to the 2018 horror hit was originally set to debut in theaters last March and was one of the first films delayed due to the pandemic. It was moved to last September, then this April. But with many theaters still closed, it now has a fourth release date, September 17th, 2021. Miley Cyrus is the latest performer added to Super Bowl Sunday. She's set to headline the TikTok tailgate before kickoff on February 7th. Cyrus will perform for 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers who will also get free tickets to the game. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Godzilla vs. Kong set to air on HBO Max, part of the Warner Media family, as well as in theaters.
Well, fans will have to wait even longer for the latest James Bond film. Darn it.
No Time to Die, starring Daniel Craig, pushed back, of course, coronavirus concerns. 25th Bond movie, supposed to hit theaters back in April. It's now been delayed until October. It's nearly 2 years after the initial planned release.
That's right. No Time to Die was originally set to debut in November of 2019. Can't even remember when that was. But it was postponed to April of 2020 when director Danny Boyle left the project. Then the pandemic struck, forcing multiple delays.
MGM reportedly adamant about bringing the action-packed spy movie to the big screen, denying any rumors of it debuting on streaming sites first.
TV host Larry King has died.
King died at a Los Angeles hospital over the weekend. No cause of death given. CNN reported in early January that King was hospitalized with COVID-19.
Soon after news of his passing broke, many began to pay their respects in their own personal ways, with one man laying a bouquet of flowers at King's Hollywood Walk of Fame star.
Famed radio host for decades, appeared nightly on CNN, won many an accolade, including 2 vaunted Peabody Awards. Larry King was 87 years old. Be right back with Money Watch after this.
In Money Watch this morning, virtual learning has changed the way families and school districts think about education. And now it has some teachers shifting their careers. Naomi Ruckham explains why some educators are choosing virtual teaching even once the pandemic is behind us.
All right. Dion Lucas spent more than a decade teaching high school math in her own unique way.
I incorporate a lot of music into my lesson plans.
The teacher and church musician took a break after feeling a bit of burnout, and then the pandemic hit.
When the pandemic happened, I wasn't working. The church was closed. Everything was closed. I didn't have any income coming in.
What is the measure of angle phi?
So Lucas took her musical math lessons online, becoming a permanent virtual educator.
If everything had to shut down again, I didn't make sure that I have a stable income, that I could able to support myself and my family.
Nearly 93% of U.S. households with school-aged children reported some form of distance learning during the COVID crisis, forcing teachers to work from home too. The National Virtual Teacher Association supports educators looking to move their careers online.
It's a brand new world of teachers who feel like an opportunity has been open to them.
Teachers are finding positions at online schools or teaching courses districts may not have been able to offer.
You can have a virtual teacher from anywhere in the country teaching students in your district, which is incredible because your district might have been restricted to only offering certain electives, certain AP classes, certain foreign languages, because that's who lived in your area.
For Lucas,
when you divide, you flip the other side and you multiply. Now simplify.
It's a chance to retune her career. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Right?
Virtual teachers like Dion Lucas also offer office hours and extra tutoring, hoping to make the online experience as interactive as possible. Well, stocks finished last week mixed. On Friday, the Dow dropped 179 points. The Nasdaq was up 12. The S&P 500 lost 11. A major week for earnings season with some of the biggest names checking in. Microsoft and Starbucks report on Tuesday. Apple, Facebook, and Tesla follow on Wednesday, and McDonald's and Comcast on Thursday. The White House is getting some pushback against President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. Moderate Republicans say it may be too soon to act after Congress passed a bill last month, though members from both parties who spoke with top White House aides say there is a consensus on speeding up vaccinations and testing. And SpaceX rocket carried 143 small satellites into orbit on Sunday, some of them as small as a shoebox. The company says it's the most ever sent in one launch. Also on board, capsules containing the ashes of 114 people arranged by Spaceflight Memorial Company. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with today's forecast.
And as Tanya said, that launch took place on Sunday. It was originally scheduled for Saturday. Mother Nature made them push it back one day, and I tell you what, if they thought about trying to put anything up in the air in the 4 states this morning, we got not only torrential rain, but we've got lightning as well. These strikes in the last 5 minutes down in McDonald County. There's one that just popped up as well. And then right on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. Now the heaviest lightning, it's actually pushed off there just on the other side of our highlighted county. So at least we're headed in the right direction. But that being said, we have flash flood warnings. That's indicated in the lime green, and then our darker green flash flood watch. We already know that low-lying areas are underwater. Need to be very careful pre-sunrise. Know your areas that flood because we're already pushing close to 3 inches up to the north. Joplin Regional Airport registering 1.25 inches. This band right here that worked from north to south, we're approaching 3 inches there along I-49 as well. From the Freeman Health System sky camera, this is actually a good sign. Earlier, we couldn't even see campus through the rain. So it's easing up just a little bit. It's chilly outside, 46 with a wind chill of 40, and temperatures pretty wide ranging, everything from the mid 30s to the mid 40s. It's an impressive band. Winter warnings out to the west throughout central Kansas, then it switches over into freezing rain. Ours will remain as rain all the way through the morning hours, and this thing pushes all the way to the mid-Atlantic and then drops down to the south all the way into Texas. As far as our temperatures go today, still going to be able to make it up into the 50s and some late afternoon sunshine after the rain tapers off here, say around the noon hour, and then becomes more of the scattered variety throughout Monday afternoon and evening. Cold front drops in, 41 and partly sunny skies on Tuesday, and look at this. We're going to go from thunderstorms on Monday to looking at some snow here middle of the week. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the CDC says more than 1 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine are being administered every day. But health officials and lawmakers want that number to improve. CBS's Naomi Ruckham is in New York with the debate over President Biden's coronavirus relief bill and the vaccination effort around the country.
More than a dozen senators met with White House aides over the weekend to discuss a new coronavirus relief bill.
We're going to work with Congress to get more funding to also accelerate this so that we can improve the rate at which we're vaccinating people.
Lawmakers are split on parts of President Biden's $1.9 trillion package.
Before we were to pass a new program, we need to understand where the money's going.
The American people are hurting, and they want us to act.
One area of agreement is a plan to improve vaccination numbers.
We've got to vaccinate as many people as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can.
Biden officials say the effort has been hampered by the Trump administration.
I can't tell you how much vaccine we have.
New CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says her not knowing how much vaccine there is means local officials can't formulate a plan.
They can't figure out how many sites to roll out, they can't figure out how many vaccinators that they need, and they can't figure out how many appointments to make for the public.
Many vaccination sites appear to be running smoothly.
Easy, retired surgeon gave me my shot, so I'm very happy.
But supply isn't meeting demand.
One thing that is certain is that we don't have enough vaccine for our community.
To slow the spread of new variants, President Biden is expected to reinstate a travel ban on more than 24 European countries and Brazil, as well as add a new ban on South Africa. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
President Trump had rescinded the European and Brazilian bans in his final days in office. It bans most non-citizens from entering the U.S. if they've been to one of those countries recently. COVID deaths in the U.S. are expected to rise, with one influential model projecting 569,000 deaths by May 1st. Researchers at the University of Washington say the number is a slight increase from previous projections. The model from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation estimates that by May 1st, 42,800 lives will be saved by the projected vaccine rollout. Researchers also note that hospitalization data suggests that the epidemic is at its peak. Hand sanitizer is a good way to protect yourself against germs, but it may also present a hidden danger. Researchers in France discovered a large uptick in the number of eye injuries caused by these sanitizers. 16 of those cases required hospitalizations, as opposed to just one case in 2019. All of those admissions were in children under 4 years old, and 2 required surgery. While it's not known for sure how the injuries happen, the researchers have a theory. All those hand sanitizer stations you see in public places are positioned at eye level, which is also at hand level, which is also eye level for many children. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've been hit with some of the hardest rain from this expansive system that runs from the Rockies all the way to the mid-Atlantic, and that's why we've got flash flood warnings and flash flood watches throughout southwest Missouri. Rain is going to stick around, become more scattered for the afternoon, highs in the 50s, and of course all the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri. Plus, an article of impeachment that will be sent to the Senate today will have the latest, and why former Press Secretary Sarah Sanders could be mounting a bid for governor in Arkansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, why sleeping conditions for National Guard troops at the Capitol have caused controversy. For our morning talker, we're asking, did you watch either of the championship games yesterday, and who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? You can participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
We will work east to west because the eastern part of the 4 states in southwest Missouri is where the torrential rain continues to fall down on this Monday morning. The majority of the lightning has moved to the east of our counties. We're still picking up a little bit right there in between Neosho and Pineville, right on the county line, and Mount Vernon along I-44. Now, as we get to the central and western part of the 4 states, you're not done yet. Done with the thunderstorm activity, done with the heavier rain. But we'll still see some fallout here from what's hanging over central Kansas. We're not going to have any of the frozen variety like they're having. But at the same point in time, don't think that you don't need the umbrella. Freeman Health System sky camera, 46 degrees is where we stand right now. Wind chill in effect, only feels like it's 41. 37 in Iowa, 45 in Monette. Let's roll 46 in Miami. This is an expansive storm system that we're looking at. It really runs from the Rockies all the way to the mid-Atlantic, drops down from about Iowa all the way to Texas. And so we're not the only ones with flooding concerns here. As I mentioned, it's going to begin to break up here after the noon hour and be more scattered rain than anything else. Keep all that snow and freezing rain up to the north of us. We don't want any of that. We do have a cold front moving in, though. Even though we get sunshine on Tuesday, it's going to be chillier, only in the 40s. And then the cold front will bring us some additional snow that's going to show up here middle of the week. So from thunderstorm activity to partly sunny to snow. Hello, end of January.
Yeah, no kidding. A little bit of everything. A typical 4-state forecast there.
Remember, flash flood warnings. 9:30 is our expiration time. We got a ways to go before those are done. And flash flood watches will stretch all the way till noon.
All right, keep an eye on the roads, that's for sure. Thank you, Michael. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44, about 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare of Billings, Missouri was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. The occupants of that car included 17-year-olds Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. For the second time, an article of impeachment against former President Donald Trump will be delivered to the Senate today. Although the House voted to impeach Trump earlier this month, this next step will be an uphill battle for Democrats. Naomi Ruckham explains what comes next.
Similar scene to the first impeachment trial against former President Donald Trump. 9 members of the House of Representatives will walk through the Capitol tonight to physically deliver an article of impeachment to the Senate. This time, the charge, incitement of insurrection for the January 6th assault on the Capitol.
I hope conviction, ultimate disqualification are the very first powerful steps toward unity in our country moving forward.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has appointed impeachment managers who will serve as the prosecution while all 100 senators sit as the jury. The trial is now set for February 8th after Republicans asked for a delay.
We already have a flaming fire in this country, and it's like taking a bunch of gasoline and pouring it on top of the fire.
Some Republicans believe impeaching a former president is unconstitutional, but Democrats disagree and plan to move forward.
It is constitutional. We have precedent from way back when a Secretary of War was tried after he had left office.
In order to convict former President Trump, all 50 Democratic senators would need to vote in favor, and 17 Republicans would have to cross the aisle. Some are hinting they might.
I believe that what is being alleged and what we saw, which is incitement to insurrection, is an impeachable offense.
According to the Associated Press, federal law enforcement officials are looking into a number of threats aimed at members of Congress as the trial approaches. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
A new report from the Wall Street Journal over the weekend alleges that former President Trump pressed the Justice Department to go directly to the Supreme Court to try to overturn the results of the election. Former White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders appears poised for a gubernatorial run in Arkansas. A source with knowledge of the situation says she is expected to make that announcement today. Sanders served under former President Donald Trump. The current Arkansas governor, Asa Hutchinson, is reaching his term limit. 35 members of Congress have co-signed a letter to President Biden to commute all federal death penalty sentences. The Trump administration reinstated the federal death penalty after a nearly 2-decade pause, executing 13 inmates in just 6 months. Representatives Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Cori Bush of Missouri co-authored the letter to Biden to put a stop to the executions. President Biden has not responded yet, but he has previously stated that he is in favor of ending the federal death penalty. The new administration has sweeping plans for criminal justice reform, but has not addressed death sentences in the first few rounds of executive orders. Opponents of the death penalty argue that it is racially biased. Currently, there are 49 men on federal death row. More than half represent members of minority groups. A fire broke out near downtown Joplin on Saturday. The fire started in a commercial building in the 400 block of East 8th Street. Officials with the Joplin Police Department say there were no injuries. The Joplin Fire Department, Police Department, and Mets all responded to the scene. We first introduced you to a group a week ago as they were trying to get a chess club started in Pittsburgh. Yesterday was their second meeting. Organizers say they're off to a great start. The group meets at the Root Coffee House in Pittsburgh, playing rounds to brush up on their skills and raise their ranks on the competitive level. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, outrage over sleeping conditions.
Photos of National Guard troops resting on the floor of a parking garage has lawmakers asking who's to blame. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with more on the finger pointing in Congress coming up.
Plus, for our morning talker, we're asking, did you watch either of the 2 championship games yesterday? And who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Geographic breakdown here of our flash flood warnings. Those are going to be in the lime green. Flash flood watches indicated in dark green. Already reports of low water bridges that are underwater right now. Plan accordingly. Be safe out there. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, photos and videos of National Guard troops sleeping in a Capitol Hill parking garage have sparked outrage with Republicans and Democrats. Now the question is, why were thousands of service members in D.C. to protect the Capitol told to take their rest breaks out of the halls of Congress? Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
These images of National Guard troops forced to take their rest breaks in a parking garage have members in Congress enraged.
It was utterly unacceptable. I have told those who run the security of the Capitol that it can never happen again.
I don't think a single senator feels that was acceptable. Your Congress and your country appreciate all you've done.
There are conflicting statements from the Capitol Police and National Guard over who ordered the troops during breaks in their 12-hour shifts to a Capitol Hill parking garage. The National Guard writing, as Congress was in session and increased foot traffic and business was being conducted, Capitol Police asked the troops to move their rest area. The acting Capitol Police chief pushed back, quote, "The United States Capitol Police did not instruct the National Guard to vacate the Capitol building facilities." While the chair of the Senate Armed Services and the Senate Majority Leader say the directive didn't come from leadership.
There was one uniformed police officer who issued an order without authority or without going through the chain of command.
Now lawmakers are calling for an investigation into who it was.
It's just disgusting. I don't know how that happened. I don't know the story behind it, but a lot of people are looking.
Multiple governors ordering their National Guard troops home.
To be treated with that kind of disrespect, I think a lot of governors are second guessing and saying, well, we're going to pull them back.
The troops have been allowed to again take their rest breaks in the halls of Congress. Plus, there are talks to keep about 7,000 National Guard members in D.C. through mid-March.
President Biden has spoken with the chief of the National Guard after seeing the photos, and the White House has offered assistance to anything the troops may need. President Biden is expected to lift the ban on transgender people in the military early this week. White House press secretary has said that move would come early in his presidency. Now, an inside source says it could happen as early as Monday. Former President Trump instituted the ban after announcing it in a 2017 tweet. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page at our morning Insta poll, Chiefs headed back to the Super Bowl after rolling the Buffalo Bills 38-24 on Sunday night in the AFC Championship game. KC gets to face off against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 50, February 7, right here on KOAM. Our question to you, did you watch the game? And who do you think is going to win Super Bowl 55? Chris Osgood Miller says watch both games. Was really rooting for the Packers to beat the Bucs. And Chris says the Chiefs will definitely beat the Bucs. Greg Horn says I cannot believe 20% of the viewing area went Buccaneers. Greg's talking about our Insta poll, I believe, and Greg, it's all right. It gets a little better here when I get the results. Cynthia Ivy says yes, we did. Chiefs are going to win, of course. Go Chiefs. And Rocky Cunningham, both games good. I got to go Chiefs because my Broncos didn't make it. Tom Brady is not Satan's spawn, Rocky. Terry Vaughn says, I cannot believe the home field advantage they will have. Terry referencing that the Super Bowl is going to be played in Tampa Bay this year. First time in Super Bowl history that a team has been able to play at its home field. Of course, the fields, the cities, I guess Super Bowl cities, chosen years in advance. It just so happens that it was Tampa Bay this year, the year that Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers, the year that the Chiefs get a chance to repeat. On the KOAM News Now Insta poll, 88% of you siding with the Chiefs in the upcoming Super Bowl. Once again, that's February 7th, right here on KOAM. You can make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state heroes. Sergeant Mort Cox, who served in the United States Army from 1952 to 1953. He served in the Fox Company and 23rd Regiment Unit in Korea. His hometown, Chanute, Kansas. We're proud to salute Mort Cox, our four-state hero.
We will kick our birthday list off with a big number 7. Looks like we got a dance party going on. Happy birthday, Lily Covey. Lily celebrating in Nevada.
I like that pose there. JD Collins is turning 9 years old. Like the hair there, JD, in Nevada.
Eli Maples, now a teenager. A very happy birthday to Eli as he celebrates number 13 in Frontenac.
Also in Frontenac.
Little Raider wrestling pride right there.
Yeah. Also in Frontenac, Cheyenne Hecker turns 18 years old today.
Happy birthday, Cheyenne. Jordan Wilson, celebrating his 23rd birthday. Look at that. A cupcake factory going on. Happy birthday to Jordan and Weir.
All right, and we've got Michaela Richardson turning 24 years old. Michaela celebrating in Jasper with special love from Granny and Papa.
I'm going to run out to Opolis where Nathan Watson, he's celebrating a 26th birthday. Have a great day, Nathan.
In Arma, Kansas, Chase Cleland turning 27 years old. Happy birthday, Chase.
And Sophie De Silva, Miss De Silva, to her students as she is a great middle school teacher. Happy birthday to Sophia. She's celebrating her 28th in Baxter Springs.
In Jasper, Missouri, Rick Harris celebrating birthday number 62.
62, important number today. That's where we find Greg Bergsong, Cash Making Money, Greg. He celebrates 62 in Girard.
All right, also turning 62, Carol Garicki in Chanute. Hope it's a great one for you, Carol.
Here's a special birthday right here. Annabelle Blood is celebrating her 97th birthday, and I tell you what, you want to talk about birthday wishes coming in from anywhere and everywhere. Annabelle is a proud mother of 6 children. She has 10 grandchildren, 17 great-grandchildren, and 5 great-great-grandchildren. How
Wow.
special. Happy birthday, Miss Blood.
Love the generations there. And belated anniversary wishes going out to the Hollands. 28 years for Richard and Celia. Congratulations.
Garrett Newman's celebrating a birthday. Garrett is in Columbus. Ethan Edwards, East Squared, a happy birthday to you in Frontenac. And Sam Smith, party on, because we got ourselves a 21st birthday in Columbus.
Linda Schmelzer turning 18 years old in Columbus. Lindy, yes. And Kendra Phillips celebrating a birthday down in Miami. And if it's Kendra's birthday, it's also Trisha's Hage birthday in Miami as well. She's 34 years old.
Oh, Miami just coming in left and right. Madeline Russell, we would not forget you. We just wanted to make sure that you had a special screen all to yourself on this 9th birthday. Miss Madeline, she is celebrating in Fort Scott. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Already at 1.25 inches of rain accumulation at Joplin Regional Airport, and we've seen numbers grow way beyond 1.25 inches, especially up to the north and now our eastern section. One lightning flash that we picked up in the last 5 minutes, so we are getting a little bit better as far as our lightning danger goes, but we're a long way from our flooding concerns waning. Flash flood warning for the lime green all the way until 9:30, darker green indicating a flash flood watch. That thing runs all the way to noon. We already know that there's water over low-lying areas, so make sure you plan accordingly on your way to work. And look at these numbers. See this yellow? You see splashes of yellow right there. That's 2.5, 3 inches of rain that's already been picked up in those areas. We have been able to calm down from the Freeman Health System sky camera. At least we can see it now. Earlier it was raining so hard. Camera really couldn't even pick up anything on campus. 46 degrees is where we stand. 43 in Oswego, 39 in Nevada, and 47 in Anderson. So kind of a wide gap of temperatures. Impressive system in that it stretches from the Rockies all the way to the Mid-Atlantic, and we've been entrenched with some of the heaviest rain that this system has produced from last night into this morning. Still going to be able to make it up into the 50s today. Just going to take a little bit for the rain to kind of taper off, and even the places out to the west right there, still going to see some scattered raindrops, not thunderstorm activity, but more scattered rain as we work into the afternoon hours. Really going to cool off after that. Tuesday is going to bring us temperatures in the 40s, and then the additional cold front and some Gulf moisture, got a chance for some snow here by the middle of the week. Just be careful out there. Like I said, plan accordingly, know those areas in your community that flood and anticipate them being underwater because we've still got a while before we get a little sunlight that helps us out driving wise. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 3 are dead following a head-on collision in Lawrence County, Missouri last night. Missouri Highway Patrol says it happened a little after 9 on I-44, about 5 miles east of Mount Vernon. 85-year-old Everett Hare of Billings, Missouri was heading east in the westbound lane when he struck a car head-on. The occupants of that car included 17-year-olds Isaac Fudge and Nevaeh Ost, both of Mount Vernon. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to send the article of impeachment against former President Trump to the Senate today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate trial will not start until the week of February 8th. Former President Trump was impeached on an incitement of insurrection charge after the Capitol Hill riot on January 6th. And former White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders appears poised for a gubernatorial run in Arkansas. A source with knowledge of the situation says she's expected to make that announcement today. Sanders served under former President Donald Trump. The current Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson is reaching his term limit. 7 Senate Democrats have filed an ethics complaint against Senators Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. They're calling for the Ethics Committee to investigate the 2 Republicans for their actions leading up to and on January 6th, the day of the Capitol insurrection. Hawley and Cruz objected to the Electoral College votes. The Democrats want to see how that may have contributed to inciting the violence. Hawley called the complaint a, quote, flagrant abuse of the Senate ethics process. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We're getting there. Slowly but surely, the thunderstorm activity moves off to the east. Still do have lightning strikes showing up in our highlighted counties, however. And that area where we see the lightning, yep, that happens to be the exact same places where we're looking at not only flash flood watches, but more importantly, flash flood warnings. And so please know that those areas are already finding roads that are underwater. Breaking up into scattered showers later this morning into the afternoon. Little peak of sunshine before it's all said and done, and able to make it up into the 50s before a cold front drops in. And we got to roll 40s on Tuesday and cold enough to even present some snow on Wednesday.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making seashore linguine in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues on KOAM. Of course, we have the CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
All right. That will wrap it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Be safe out there. No driving through flooded roads. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.